In the last video, we worked on the first of our rabbit feet and one of our bunny ears. Now what I'm going to do is I made some more feet. I'm going to add these 4 feet on and we'll start putting our bunny together. So just like the other one, I'm just going to put this right on top and I'm just going to attach the wire firmly onto my arm that's there. And again, I'm doing it this way so that you can see the little claws coming through as I add on my wool. And it's a little finicky as you do this because you do have all these wires. So you're just going to want to work slowly and carefully. It might not always be the easiest to see as I move this guy around. But I'm just trying to gently work around the wire and add in my wool to create my paws. I like to run my wool up and down. I don't like to wrap it because it looks a little bit like more realistic rabbit fur that way. And as you tack into the little areas between the wire, it becomes a little easier. It's just finding your openings. And again, if you don't want to deal with all this, feel free to just wrap that wire and create just regular bunny paws. I just wanted to do it how I did the other one to create that level of realism. This is a little harder too because this is a smaller rabbit. So on the other one, I was able to wrap it with a little bit more wool, giving me a little bit more room to work with around the wires. This is a really small one, so sometimes the smaller it is, the harder it is. So I'm not going to get around these sections quite as well as I did with the other one. But as the wool starts knitting together, it does get a little easier. Just have to find those first openings to get it to attach to what's already there. I'm usually working in all kinds of odd positions, moving it around as I go. And I like to feel the wool as I work and feel how things are coming together, which is why I don't like to wear the finger guards. Sometimes if I'm doing really small stuff, I'll use them. But if I can move my fingers around where I'm needle felting, I tend to not pull them out. So I'm just going around and around the wires and just getting those wool fibers to knit together around that wire that I have in there. And we will come back to this after we put our fur on too. So don't worry if it's not perfect, and we move on to the next one. We'll be touching it up as we go along. I'm going to do a foot. Same thing. I'm going to kind of wrap it around the wire there. And pull it under the rabbit. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to wrap it with the wire there. And again, I'm going to kind of push it under the rabbit. lot of times I will take this piece here, these leftover pieces, and they're gonna stay straight down. They're gonna stay straight down and my feet are gonna come out. And the reason why I do this is so I can attach it to a base. So I'm gonna push the pipe cleaner up with my foot. And then I have these two little pieces of wire that I attached it to coming out. And then when I put it in my base, I'll drill a hole, and that has it sitting securely in the base. Again, you do not need to do that. You can just cut these guys off, or you can bend them up into the feet. It does make it a little bit more difficult to work around, but again, it gives you a little bit more secure of a support. So I'm gonna leave them for now. And just like the paws, these can handle a little bit more. So here, I'm gonna slide this over and do them off of here, since I have those little things coming down. Again, cut them off if you don't want to deal with it. It does make it a little harder to work around. But if you want to securely mount your sculpture to a base, it really is nice to have that, so you're not just gluing it on. A lot of times I won't even glue it at all so that it's removable, and I'll just drill my holes and insert it into the base. So we're just gonna do the same thing we did before. Now for the bottom, we don't have to be that careful about what it's looking like, because that's what it's going to be sitting on. So I'm not gonna really create the look of fur down here. I'm just gonna work on filling it all in and creating a secure base for everything. And then we're gonna go over all the rest of it, creating a fur. You're going to kind of want to feel your way around, moving just to a slightly thicker needle so I'm not hitting the wool as much. Again, what you can do here is you can felt up your wool just a little bit, get a little head start on it felting together. And then use that to go right over where your feet are. And that's just going to give you a little bit of a head start in getting it all to come together. I have to put it on the end because I have those little wires sticking out. So I'm having the wires just off the edge of my pad as I felt them down. And if you can, you're just kind of pushing it between the toes. Or if you're not using the feet and you're just wrapping it around, same thing. You're just smoothing it out. I'm just going to come from the top and go in through those toes. That little wire I have sticking out makes it a little harder. So I come in and at it from different directions. Cover this one. Now you can also decide how fluffy you want your feet to be at this point. Do you want a big fluffy footed bunny? Just add more wool, more layers. And the more wool you add, the easier it gets because it starts knitting to itself. What you can do is you can take these wires, you can bend them back. If you bend them back, it's a little easier to work around them. I usually don't like to do that until I have the shape of the feet set so that they don't get lost in the wool. Kind of work around them for a little bit while and then I'll bend them. A wire showing there, so I'm just going to cover it up. All right, now we will come back and we will keep working on our feet after we get our fur in and decide if we want more wool added or what we need to do to them. I like to get them well covered to start, and then I play around with moving them as I progress on my body. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to add our fur to our body now. And then I'm going to make that last ear. And we'll start putting it all together. So we've got a little bunny shape. We've got some feet developing down here. And we'll continue to work on them as we go. We've got some paws. The arms are set. And we are ready to start working on fur and details. First thing I'm going to do is I am going to even up the bottom. And I'm just using this wool here. It's a Corriedale wool. I get it from Cupid Falls Farms. It's one of my favorite places to get wool from. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to cover the base of my bunny. Corriedale is nice because it felts up pretty quick. It makes a good fur. It's not quite as flyaway as merino can be. You don't end up with as many little wispies. And this color is it's either a dark fawn or a light fawn. I think it's the dark fawn. And it has lighter and darker undertones, so it looks pretty realistic as you start adding fur. A lot of time I'll mix a couple of their colors together to really get the look of fur and variety and light and dark, but for this I'm just going to work with the one kind since it's a little bunny. All right, so I'm going to push these guys back in, let my bunny can sit. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start building up our fur. As we build up our fur, we'll finish off our feet and we'll work our way up. So the way I like to do my fur is I have my wool, and I'm going to cut this into small, about inch long sections for this one. Depending how long you want your fur, you would go bigger or smaller. So once I have a couple of these sections, I take a little bit of it and I lay it down and I go right through the middle of it. Go through a couple times and I fold it down and I go right on top of that. And the reason I'm doing this is because it's creating a fur-like effect where you don't have it completely attached, so you still get a little bit of that look of fur, because you're only attaching it in the middle and you're letting the rest stay loose. Then you can comb it out, and as you comb it out, you can get the look of fur. So we're just layering on layers, layering on pieces of wool. And if I need to, I'll just trim a bit off. I usually use pretty thin layers as I go. It's easier to build up. And then after I get it on, I'll shape it a little bit as I need to. All right, so what I like to do is I like to kind of work my way around as I go. So I'm actually going to skip the legs for right now, and I'm going to start up the back. You want to make sure that it's securely in there. So doing the middle 2 or 3 times and then coming up and pushing that top bit up. And also by pushing that top bit up, you're creating a shingle effect almost, so that the top is shorter than the bottom. And that helps to create the fur look and have it lay nice. So I go through the middle. And so I'm doing the leg. I'm just going around my leg, and then I'm going to push it down, and then I'm going to come up and over and make sure that that's in there. And I'm just going to blend it into the bottom over here. If I need to, if I have pieces that don't exactly line up, I'll give it a little bit of a snip. And we're going to smooth it out. And we're just going to keep going around our bunny like that. Come over to this side. If you wanted to do a longer haired animal or bunny, you just use longer sections. But I'm going just for a short and simple look. Now you can just put your fur on flat and just go over it with a color. I just find that this gives a little bit more of a realistic effect. And if you want it to look a little bit sleeker, you would want to use merino wool instead of this Corriedale. On a lot of my larger animals and most of my birds, I do use merino because I want it to have that sleeker look. We're going for a little fluffy bunny. This is one of my favorite little tools. I guess an eyelash comb, eyebrows. And I just use it to brush out as I go. This pulls out any loose pieces. It also gets all the wool going in the right direction. Shows me if there's any areas that I need to kind of trim up as I go. And I'll just do that. So we're going to come up the legs. Now I usually just go around my shape of the leg. I don't worry too much about it. After I get all my wool on, I'll define some areas as needed a little bit more. And that's just done by needle felting into the areas where I need to create definition. So like over here, as I go, I'll needle felt this layer in more to create the look of the legs. You can move your arms as need be to get them out of the way. Another thing you can do is you can lightly brush with your needle to see what's going on. So I will also kind of cut out some of the areas where I know I'm going to need my wool to be thinner. You can see that this adds a lot of bulk onto your shape. That's why you want everything to be smaller than what you want your finished piece to look like. I'm starting to create a little bit of that rounded rabbit leg there. I don't worry too much about finishing the shape until I get to the end of it, but I do like to make sure I'm maintaining my shape as I go so I can see what I'm doing. And the thinner the pieces of wool that you're adding, the less bulk you'll be adding to your piece. So if you have an area where you just feel like it was too big when you started and you don't want to add that much bulk, just use a real thin layer of the wool that you're putting over the top. And I'm just cutting these edges where it's mating the legs here. All right, so once I get to a place where I have a couple inches done, I'll take stock and I'll brush it out. Trim up a little bit where need be. Here I'm just thinking that I'm going to create a little bit of definition where the leg hits. So I'm just taking a little bit of the bulk out there. Same here, coming up the belly. And that's going to continue to be defined as I work my way up. So by continually needle felting and then brushing it and needle felting and brushing it, I keep that look of wool while I can also, that look of fur I should say, while I also smooth it out and I shape it. So I'm going to keep doing this as I add on more. I'm gonna keep brushing it and needle felting it. All right, you can see we've got some bunny paws starting to come out here. So I will get a little bit more definition as we go, but I'll push it in now just so you can see. So we can see that bunny paw sticking out. Same here, see that bunny paw? And we need a little bit more there. And I'm just gonna keep cutting pieces that are about an inch or so in length. Get up in here. Little hole there, so I'm just going to come in underneath this piece and add in one more underneath there. There's just a thin area on the leg. That should cover it up. Okay. All right, let's continue along. Move your arms up as needed to get underneath them, and then you can move them down. And actually come up this arm a little bit. So instead of folding it over, I'm just doing the 1/2 down, and then I'm doing the other one up that arm with the other side. Pull that arm back down where I want it. Again, I've got another little spot here. Just gonna fit in a little bit more wool just to cover up this little spot on the leg. I'll do the same thing on this side. I'll add my wool, but instead of folding it over, I'm just gonna let it go up the inside of that arm. And then allow that to come down as well. Closer that you put all these sections together, the thicker your rabbit's fur coat's going to be. The more you spread them out, the thinner it's going to be. So you can use that as you're going. If you need to thicken up an area, you can just put your pieces closer together, use more wool. And if you have an area that kind of needs to be thinned out, you can just use a little bit less or spread them out a little bit. You don't want them to be too spread out that you're seeing bald spots, but you have some room to play when you're doing this. I will trim it more once I have the whole rabbit done. I do like to just kind of touch up a little bit as I go through the different sections. I might cut some more of this. We're going to work our way all the way up to the head in this video. We're going to get our body situated. And I'm going to come back with one more video where we do the details in the head and add the ears and finish it up. That way it's keeping all of our videos under an hour long. Shorter videos are much easier for me to upload than the longer ones. It gives everybody a break to come back to it at another time. So when you're coming around here, around the arms, think about the direction that your fur would go on your rabbit. I'm kind of angling it just a little bit so that it'll be going down that arm and around. You know, a lot of people tend to do their heads first on their projects. I really like to do my head last. It's easier for me to make the head fit the body proportions than it is for me to make the body fit the head proportions. So I like to work my way from the bottom up. And it's okay if you have pieces that come out at this point while you're brushing it. It's better to have them come out now than at the end. It's easier to go back in and add any pieces that might have been too loose, might not have been needle felted in there enough. And these lines will disappear as I brush it and trim it up a little bit more. You've already done your arms, so you're not having to go too far down the arms. You're just trying to blend the arms in to the shoulder and back area now. And all I'm doing as I cut is I'm just kind of working on the sections, kind of like a haircut, so that it's not all one line. If I do this, it just helps with the blending of it. And then we're gonna work it in with our needle. We're not going deep because we still want to keep that look of the fur, but it just tacks it in enough so that you're seeing some definition, and you're also not seeing those lines where you're adding the fur. Starting to look like a bunny. It's getting there. I usually use smaller and smaller sections as I get closer to the head. Okay. So once we have our fur set, I'm going to take our time with the head. And I'm going to be building it up in layer after layer after layer as I go. Trying to get past that awkward stage when you feel like it's never going to look like what you want it to look like. And get it to look like a bunny. We'll see. Sometimes I wonder if we'll get there or not. Especially when I tape these videos. Because I don't know what it's going to look like as I'm working on this point. I don't know if it's going to work out how I want it to. You never know what's going to happen. Right now I'm just trying to create my body shape. This is going to be a little short, fat bunny, I think. I have enough fur so that I can pull out some of the extra and work at it. It's getting there. It's getting that bunny shape. All right. So what I'm doing by doing this, I'm taking my wool and I am defining my body, but I don't want the top coat to be completely needle felted in like that. So at the same time as I am needle felting it, I'm pulling out small bits of the wool as well. So I can still define that area, but I'm not completely losing the look of my fur. So I'll do this now to get my basic shape, and then I will do this again as we get into adding on our face and finishing up our bunny. Okay. All right, so we're getting there. We will fill this bottom in just a little bit as we add our tail to it. And we're gonna work on getting our face going now. But we've got our basic body of our bunny ready. So check back for the rest of it. Thanks for joining me.